Welcome back to Talking Hip Hop. I'm your host, JustKeekz, and today's guest is 3 a.m.
And get them raws rolled, super tight. Shawty, she so fly, we get lit tonight. Shawty, get them raws rolled, super tight. Yeah, you be so fly, we get lit tonight. Get your vibe, and feel like it's alright. Cause you mine, and I'ma dive into you, hey.
3 a.m., also known as 3 a.m. Premier, is a record producer and artist. 3 a.m. has produced for artists based in LA, Toronto, New York, Atlanta, and so much more. He also has a great interest for fashion and has a merch collection. His first line of merch sold out very quickly, and now he is working with designer Justin Agyarko on a new line of turtlenecks. 3 a.m.'s musical style is influenced by retro wave and modern day sounds. Without further ado, please welcome to the show music producer and artist 3 a.m.
Thank you very much. Great to be on this show. I've watched it quite a while, and I really love what you guys have been doing with the culture in the city, especially.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. So the first thing I wanted to know, you have the name 3 a.m. And of course, like I have to ask you, what's the meaning behind it and what's so significant about the number 3? And why did you choose it to be your producer name or artist name?
So originally I was using my grandpa's middle name, which is Ruel. And I was finding it was hard for a lot of people to pronounce. So as I was thinking of names, one thing just randomly came to me was 3 a.m. And when I thought about it, I was like, find it very interesting, especially how I see myself and see people, because I see that something about that time and that name I see can be taken in so much different ways. With everyone I ask about, everyone I see that I mention the name to, they have a different idea as to what it means. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that represents myself artistically, and I feel like it represents who I am, and a lot of people are as people, is no matter who you go to, people are going to see you in a different way. And that's how I want my artistry to be seen.
Yeah, I like that. And I know I briefly introduced you earlier, but I actually want to hear more from you about who you are and like what you do.
So myself as a producer, I've been making beats for about 4 years now. As I said, work a lot with like retro wave hip hop sounds. Biggest thing is, especially when I work with artists, is just to really take themselves out of their comfort zone, just do things in a different way. So I find that the biggest things that really hits for people on albums is the songs that are different. Something that is a little different to your catches you. Work with artists in that way. I started working actually with a team called Dream More in the city. Right now, I work a lot with the Diamond Studio. So shout out to Lou. Thank you very much for that there. And it's hard. As a producer, I find it's very weird. Like it's a very broad how we work a lot of this music industry. Myself, I like to take influences everywhere. So growing up, my dad was a DJ. My mom was a huge CD collector. She literally had, I counted it one day, she had over 250 CDs.
Wow.
So we would, like me and my sister, we would just listen to all those songs there, my dad's music. And then once YouTube became a thing, we just listened to all different types of music. So I would hear influences from like James Brown all the way to like Marilyn Manson to Kiss. Then I'm listening to Benz and Levi for that reggae samples over there. Growing up, it's much music, MTV, BET, being able to have all that landscape of music to really hear from, and just taking little things that I just always like to see. Every day I go in the studio and I'm working, I'm thinking, how can I take this over here and then bring this over here with it as well and blend it into this sound that just have people like, I don't know how to label this.
Mm-hmm. So walk me through what it is like to be a music producer and like your day-to-day, I guess, task, or like what does this job exactly entail?
For myself, it's a lot of us right now, you got your day job, you got to decide how you work. But when it comes to production, I like to tell myself, okay, you're gonna spend 20 minutes on one beat, you're getting another beat going. And it's that constant workflow. Every day you're making a beat. First and foremost, you're making a beat every day. And then you're just always constantly looking for artists from there. So I'll go through Spotify playlists. I'll go through Instagram hashtags, blogs and players that I know that do submissions. Go through everything that they have to find new artists to work with, scheduling meetings with them, developing them as a brand, saying, okay, we're going to work on this song, but let's work on you as well. Let's get these photo shoots. Let's get anything that we could do to help you out. From there, being able to say, okay, we're going to go in the studio this day. We're going to work on this song, compiling music with them in that kind of format.
Why producing?
Honestly, I just love being able to have that, being able to like choose from so much different sounds, being able to like I can go from doing hip hop to doing pop to doing R&B, and it's not in a way that's going to be confusing for an audience. I just love being able to bounce around genres.
Yeah, and I know you're also heavily into fashion and have found like a really unique way of tying that to your brand and music. So, how does fashion influence music for you?
See, I feel like it's always been intertwined. So one of my first influence I say that I first came to music with was Diddy. So when I seen Sean Combs, Sean John clothing, I was like, wow, Rockaware was a big thing at that time as well. And then I see even right now today, you see Kanye has Yeezys, Drake has his Nike collaboration, A$AP Rocky is the king of fashion right now in that light.
Mm-hmm.
I see that I always see them so intertwined. So when I started really doing this, I always saw it as a way of also bringing how I was influencing the fashion realm through that as well, just doing different things in fashion. And I said to myself, I really want to be able to do this and that, wear these kind of attires. And it just came to a point where I said, why am I going to focus on wearing these different attires? Like, why not bring that in? Why not bring that into the music light?
Yeah, and it's interesting because your brand logo, and you're also wearing one of the shirts is it a koala bear?
Yes.
And I found that really interesting. I want you to explain that.
So with the koala, I was just once again thinking with the brand, how do I find something that can be taken in a different way in different lights? And my first thought was growing with a West Indian household. So let me think of a lion, but then I thought lion is used in different ways, but then I thought a bear. I said, what's the nicest looking bear? A koala is literally the most calm, peaceful looking bear there is. So from there, I went to my friend that does design. We designed the logo together, and I was just like, that's just right. So that's just perfect.
Yeah, because it's interesting, like what people choose for their designs. And I liked when I went to your profile on Instagram, I seen the koala bear, and I was like, neat. I want to hear what your meaning or like why you decided to choose the koala bear. So thank you for sharing that. I know that we spoke a little bit about this, but your music as an artist, I feel, has a really psychedelic, like 80s synthwave sound. And then the music that you produce for others has more of like an upbeat trap, hip hop kind of vibe. That's what I was getting when I was visiting your website and listening to some of the stuff you make as an artist and what you produce. So I wanted you to describe kind of what your sound is like as an artist, and how is that sound different from the sounds and the beats that you produce for other people?
Yeah, so that's one thing as a producer, we're gonna have sounds that we gravitate to and we're gonna really love. And it's also being able to say, you know what, let's bring what this artist loves as well. And let's find a mix as well, right? So myself, I love, like I said, I love that psychedelic vibe. Actually, like one of the people that I listen to a lot when I'm making beats is, of course, that sound, the synth wave, retro wave, as you say. Wiz Khalifa's production from Cardo's Legend as well. And I love using all those sounds. I love synths completely. And sometimes you have to think to yourself, am I going to create something that's very synth heavy that's going to work with this artist here? And sometimes you have to say yourself, it's maybe not. But like I said, I love bouncing from different genres, different sounds. So I'll take that as a challenge sometimes, say, you know what? This is what you're doing. Let me work in that. Still kind of bring a bit of that. I'll still bring synths here, there into it. I'll still bring the drums that I love to use, still bring that into it. But love using that as a challenge to say, we're going to work together on this here. So I actually like that you recognize that, because one of the single that I have coming out right now with Lavish and another artist I'm working with, Jersey, it's not too synthy. But at the same time, I was able to bring in a little bit of some piano in there, so bring that in. But I said to myself, this is going to be Afro pop based. It's going to be an Afro dancehall based song. So I have to be very minimalist with that and still keep that element in there.
Mm-hmm. And while we're talking about that, you recently got to connect with Lavish, and
Yeah,
I wanted you to talk about what that was like because you're working on your song, Just Like Me. So
yeah,
talk to me about that.
yeah. So that one actually came about, once again, it's just me getting around the city, going to different shows. And I remember seeing Lavish perform one day, and I was like, I really liked his music. I really liked what he was doing with himself. So I messaged his manager, saying, "Hey, I need to get this guy on a song really quickly." So he worked all that out, got all that set up, got the verse back to me. And that's what I love. Once again, I bring what I do. He brings back what he does. And I'm like, I see this so differently now. So after I got that back from him, I was going everywhere to make sure this next verse came perfectly. Scavenging all across the country, going to US artists, everything to get that right feature. And I came across the feature artist there, Jersey. And I was like, this is what I'm looking to do. He heard it and right away was like, whatever we gotta do, we're gonna make this work. He got that verse back over to me, talked to both of them. I was like, this is what we have here right now. This
Yeah.
is what we're gonna put out.
Yeah. So a part of what you do is, you make a beat and then you think about what artist would go like sound sick on this beat. And then your job is kind of to get them all together. Like you found Lavish, then you found Jersey, and then you were like, you know what? These two would sound amazing on this track. And then you put that together, which I find that really neat. You have like that, I guess, how people say keen eye, but maybe it's a keen ear for like the sound. And how you were able to do that, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, it's really you as a producer, and I feel like any producer listening can relate to this as well. We send certain beats to artists because we hear them on it. And you're not always going to get them to hear what you hear.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to sometimes bring them into the environment as opposed to you going to the environment. Instead, you going to them and be like, this is what I see you on, telling them, this is where I see you. This is how I see you on it.
Yeah.
Getting them to hear it as well. It's another talent. It's really another talent. It's really something I feel is very important as a producer to sometimes do that.
Mm-hmm.
Pay for it. Do what you have to do to get them to see it that way as well. And I feel like that's a lot of what DJ Khaled does too, because I remember him saying he'll send it to gets the artists on songs and it's like, okay, I'm seeing it here. But then after when they're done, they're like, I want this song for myself now.
Yeah.
Getting that out there to them.
Yeah, I was just about to mention with DJ Khaled because it's like he does the same thing.
Yeah.
Like when he makes a beat, he'll think of the artist that will go great on it, and I think that's why his albums are so well.
So good.
They're
Yeah.
so good because he knows and he's thinking about that before. I wanted to ask you if do you ever find it hard to identify yourself as an artist since people mainly know you for producing?
Not really, because I definitely see the producing as first and foremost. And
Mm-hmm.
I look at other people who are in the same lane as myself. So you'll see Pharrell, he has songs of his own. You'll see Swizz Beats, for example. He does the same thing. You'll hear him on First Tier there. Kanye, J. Cole, like they do the same kind of, they move on the artist realm, but in the identity, as long as you keep consistent of what you're putting out, people are going to eventually realize what they're going to get out of you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I wanted to know, where do you find inspiration? I know some people say it just naturally comes to them. Others say they got to take walks or travel the world. So let's say you're making a beat or writing a song. Like, where do you find that inspiration?
Usually it has to be like, it's funny, going for walks helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go for walks, get my mind clear. Meditating helps a lot too. A lot of times I force myself to listen to something different constantly.
Nice.
And I'll just say to myself, I like this pattern. I'll start with that. I like the pattern. I'll kind of go off that pattern and just go from there. Even ambient sounds help a lot, I find. If I'm able to go to a beach and just that ambience, meditating through that, coming back home with that energy coming back into me, can create different textures from there too.
You just talked about ambient sounds being a source of inspiration. That's I've never heard that, and it's like ambient sounds are so lovely. If you really like stop and like take the time to hear, like I guess maybe like the leaves blowing or like the birds, like those sounds are actually kind of like music to the ears.
So you think about it, like especially with music we listen to, we're listening to it for a vibe. And what's a vibe? An ambience, right?
Yeah.
Being able to you're just pretty much being able to say, okay, when you listen to a song, sometimes like I hear myself going in the car listening to this. I hear myself at a concert listening to this. It's all just an ambience, a vibe. You're just bringing that in now.
Yeah. What is like your workflow like in the studio? What is it like to be in the studio with you?
It honestly it varies. It varies on who I'm with. If I'm by myself, like I said, I get that workflow going and I get right into it and I create. But if I'm with other people, a lot of times I like to take a back seat, see what their mindset is like as well. If they have an idea, I'm gonna be like, okay, that's what you're doing. Let's just cut this section here. Like, do this whole loop right here. I'm gonna cut this section here. We're gonna do that here. I notice this is your strength over here. Let's get you over here like this. Are you hearing something I'm not hearing? Let me hear it so I can bounce off that as well. Or if it's with another artist, sometimes the artist might start humming a melody and I'll be like, okay, this is where it is, this is where it goes right there. Bouncing, that's the biggest thing I think is so important, is bouncing off other people and what they see as well. That makes you grow so much.
Yeah, I'm curious to also know, because you've been doing this for 4 years. How did you learn how to produce or make a beat?
Well, the funny thing is before I was making beats, I was in a group. So me and a couple of my friends were making music together. And without noticing, I was kind of putting the songs together, producing it. I'll always be saying, okay, this is the beat. You're going to go first. You're going to go second. This is how the chorus has to be laid out. I was doing all that work. And then after, when I went solo, I was doing it for myself and a few other artists, not knowing that that's kind of the ground stages of it. And I was working with Depp and Dreammore, and he took me in like Yoda. I watched him producing and he made it less intimidating for me. Taught me so much about how to do all the stuff in there. And that's when I realized, I really love focusing on this route of it.
Nice. Exactly. And with all you've been able to do this far, what is the next thing for you? And like where do you see yourself in the future? Is it like maybe being an artist full time, still producing? Like where do you see yourself in a couple of years?
So that's one thing I always say to myself is I keep a 1 year, 5 year, 10-year goal. I want to buy at least a year. I have 3 or 4 artists that I produce full projects for. I really want to be in that background production role, being able to have so much like an independent label.
Yeah.
I have my own independent label with artists as well. Take it with the fashion as well and have a store for artist merch. Especially if I'm working with you, I want to be able to have your merch in there, my own merch in there. People that I know that are doing fashion for real, to have all that into one store and have a hub where people know that when they're listening to music, this is some good music that you're feeling. Shows going around the world. And these artists are getting compensated just right. There's no shaky business going on. Then I tell myself 5 years from now, I want to make that global. I want to really make that all across North America and make that a hub where there's a whole bunch of artists, producers that I've taught, and we have a whole hub going on.
Yeah, I definitely see you being like a manager too. I know that's different from producing, but I can see you managing artists. Like as you're speaking to me and telling me about your maybe like 4 year goal, I can see that being a possibility. Would you consider like managing artists full time?
I would. You know what? I said to myself before, I really would love learning it.
Yeah.
Just because when I'm working with someone, if I work with you, I really believe you're going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how small, no matter how big you are, I see you going somewhere. I'd actually even consider more after doing the research, like A&R work,
Yeah.
where I see you going here. I want you. I'm so invested in you. I want you to do X, Y, Z to get yourself over here.
Because they're also intertwined, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you're producing for an artist, managing can kind of come into that. Then there's the A&R. Like I do think it's all kind of connected.
There's so honestly with almost everything in the music industry, you kind of have to learn a bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
Like I've been teaching myself graphic design recently just so I could at least sometimes there's visions I see in my head for someone. I'm like, I need to be able to not just use like, very amateur words. I need to be able to show it to you as well, kind of what I'm thinking as well.
Exactly.
So much hats that you kind of have to wear.
Right. And what kind of things do you have coming up that you want people to keep their eyes out for?
So I have these turtlenecks that are coming. Pre-orders are actually on my website right now at 3ampremiere.com. And so I have that coming. I have this single with Lavish coming. I also want to shout out an artist I'm working with right now, DeAndre Bennett. We have a project we're working on right now. As well, I'm working on getting a full-length project, entitling it It versus Ego. That's going to be a whole compilation of songs I put together with different artists. I'm expecting that the next single after this one's going to be in the fall. There's going to be a lot coming from right now until December. I'm calling this 3 a.m. season.
Yeah, I like that. It's 3 a.m. season. I did read on your website what you just spoke on. You have an album dropping called ID versus Ego, right?
Yeah, It versus Ego, yeah.
So I wanted you to talk about that, the name, and what people can expect if you can share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, It versus Ego, I'm very into like law of attraction, stoicism, philosophy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your id and your ego is your thoughts in your head, so your desires versus what you know you need. And I feel like that's a constant battle within our head. And then when I look through the songs I put together, I really felt that not even just myself in the path of making it, but the songs really were creating that as well. So expect a lot of different sounds, but expect yourself to feel spectrum of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say is the best thing to expect on that one there. Sorry, what was the second part of the question there?
Oh, no worries. It was what can people expect? I'm assuming that there's different artists on this album.
Sound-wise, I'm going to keep this very broad. It's going to be very broad. You're going to have that dancehall Afro influence, but I also want to bring a bit of that old school bubblegum pop into it. A little bit of rock and roll. I want to really bring everyone in it in a way where it just works. Versus like, I like this. I did not expect this also to be on here. I'm loving this over here. And everyone's just going to be very opening their minds sonically and realizing how different sounds just relate to a certain emotion enough.
Right. And I want to ask you something because I feel like you can answer this. You know, when DJ Khaled, he releases an album, it features different artists, but it's under his name. Same thing what you're mentioning with ID versus Ego. You're going to be producing it, but it's going to be featuring artists. How does that work? Because I always think about it like an artist releases an EP, but I didn't know that producers also can do that too, and you're doing it. So I wanted to hear more about that from you.
So it's who put the song together, exactly. Right? So sometimes I'll work on something and it's the artist came to me that they wanted this right here. Mm-hmm. Or they'll come to me and be like, I like this beat. I want it for here. That's them putting it together. That's their song there. Where this one, it's me saying, I made this beat intentionally for this type of artist and that type of artist. And so it's literally the reverse of it. I'm the one saying I'm the one that had you in mind and you in mind. So I'm bringing you guys into here. And that's where I'm kind of like the main artist that's consistent through the project as a producer. And these are also the songwriters here. That's one thing people don't know actually is when you're putting a song together for, say, SoCan, be in mind like these distributors, what they're looking at is, as songwriter, is who plays the notes. As the beat maker, okay, whose words are on this? The artist here, the songwriter, right? We're both, so technically we're both the songwriter in that kind of light.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So after that, it's just, okay, who initiated putting it all together?
Right. And do you ever work directly with the artist on making the lyrics? Because I'm sure when there's a beat in your head, you could kind of be like, I think this would go great with it. And then you could kind of like, it's very collaborative is what I'm trying to say. But do you ever really help with that process?
Oh, yeah, I'll give a rough song just to give them an idea from there. Sometimes they'll hear people like, okay, I'm thinking how to go on it. But when I send that reference song, it's, oh, I like this bounce, I like how it's going here. It gives them now that influence to go from there with it. Or maybe if we're already in the studio together working on a song, sometimes I'll have something. They're doing something, I'm like, I see you having this bit under it right here. Add this right here. Cut this part. This is what's going to be the bridge here now. I'm going to switch the beat up here so you can do this specifically on it.
Yeah, definitely. Has it been challenging doing things remotely? I know with the pandemic, like how has your job changed with everything happening right now?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I feel your pain, man. I'm looking at you right now and I'm like, I can feel it.
It was a whole shift, especially being able to go from, hey, we've been connected. First and foremost, the connection. We're shows right now. Where is like all the like social interaction where we could be like, I heard you do this. Let's go in the studio, say next week, I'm gonna play you a bunch of beats. You're gonna like this one, let's go. So where now it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna send you some beats, I might email you something. I don't even know when I might hear back from you. I don't know when you're able to even get in the studio. We don't know what exactly is gonna happen from here. It made things a lot difficult, but it was kind of a wave where I kind of had to get used to it, trial and error just to figure out what's going to work there. And I'm just really happy that things are slowly opening back up again, just to get back into that old workflow.
Yeah, definitely. And I would like for you to share some advice or anything that has helped you in your journey so far as a producer that you think people might benefit from hearing.
I would say for I guess maybe both artists and producers. For artists, keep writing. For producers, constantly make beats, constantly work with other people, keep learning off each other. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this correctly right now, but don't be closed-minded to who you're working with. I know I always say this kind of brackets, but don't be afraid to go outside your bracket. Everyone wants to work with a person who has, say, 10,000, 20,000 followers. But also work with that person that has, like, say, 1,000 followers. Don't chase Hollywood, but make your circle become Hollywood. Because then when your circle starts to feel like Hollywood, you just don't love to go outwards as much. You help build everyone up here.
Exactly. Yes. And I guess what I hear you're saying is consistency. So important. Keep writing, keep making beats, keep at it. Yeah, definitely. I would love for you to share your socials and let people know where they can go to follow you.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on TikTok, 3 a.m. premiere. If you see this koala right here, I don't see it too well. Yeah. But if you see the koala right here, that is me right there. And if you follow me, if you make music as well, I will follow you back, and I will let's make some music with you as well.
Definitely.
And thank you so much, honestly, once again, for having me here.
Yes, thank you for coming through. It's 3 a.m. season, right?
3 season right now. Thank you.
So thank you. Make sure to keep up with 3 a.m. He, as you said, it's 3 a.m. season, and he's about to take over. So you want to keep up with him. I want to thank everybody for watching. I'm your host, JustKeekz, and until next time, keep talking hip hop. Peace.